Bleacher Report proposed a wild trade between the New York Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies that they said should have happened at the deadline, and we have to talk about this because it is absolutely ludicrous. So let's jump right into it, guys. What's up? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we are going to just jump right into this video. So let's do just that and look at this proposed trade because it is insane and it's just straight up weird. The trade that was proposed by Bleacher Report is Mitchell Robinson to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for Marcus Smart, a 2024 first-round pick with a top 3 protection, a 2025 second-round pick via Houston or OKC, and a 2027 second-round pick via the Atlanta Hawks. Now, look, this is just an absurd trade, not just because there's no way the Memphis Grizzlies would be giving up that 2024 first-round pick, that's top 3 protected. I just don't see that happening at all. The Grizzlies will not be making the playoffs this year. Their entire team is injured, and they're not going to give up Marcus Smart and a bunch of their picks for Mitchell Robinson. And if you're the Knicks, how does this make sense for us? I understand it's adding to the draft capital so we can make a trade, but then we're stuck on one big man. We're without Mitchell Robinson, who clearly makes us a better basketball team. I just don't understand where that helps either team here, but look, we are Knicks Digest. If you look right there, the Grizzlies are 22-41. So yeah, they could very well get into the top 3. But also, I just don't get what the appeal is for either team here because it just negates what each of them are trying to do. The Knicks aren't sure who's going to be available via trade, and that makes things kind of interesting here because I don't think it's going to be a center the Knicks are going to look to trade for. And that's where things get kind of confusing here. Because not only are the Grizzlies never going to give up a first round pick like this, which is the only way that I would accept this trade, even so, Marcus Smart does not fit on the New York Knicks at all. I understand that outsiders looking in think the Knicks need another point guard because they only have Brunson. But Deuce McBride is just the light version of Marcus Smart. We don't need both of them on the roster. Mitchell Robinson is a cheaper option than Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart is 30 years old compared to Mitch, who's 26. I don't get this. I don't get why the Knicks would make a move that pushes them backwards. Just because the Grizzlies traded away Steven Adams to the Houston Rockets at the deadline, with Adams being out for the rest of the season. None of this makes sense. Like, realistically, that pick is not being given up, and the logic for this is kind of flawed, because if you look, a healthy Robinson is a difference maker in the middle, but the Knicks know all too well that the bouncy big man is no stranger to the injury bug. He's only reached 70 games once in his 6 seasons, and will land way short of that mark, as it's unclear of if or when he'll make it back from the December ankle surgery. New York could choose to pivot away from him, as its roster, when not absurdly limited by injuries, has produced capable replacements between Isaiah Hartenstein, Precious Achiuwa, Jericho Sims, and Julius Randle. The Knicks, when healthy, can get along just fine without Mitchell Robinson. Look, I'm aware that Isaiah Hartenstein has been great for the New York Knicks. That does not mean we are going to be able to keep Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency this upcoming summer. So if the Knicks make this trade, then they lose Isaiah Hartenstein. Then we're looking at a situation where the Knicks don't have a starting level center because Precious Achiuwa, yes, he's been great as a power forward. He has not been playing center when he's been playing his best minutes for the New York Knicks. Since Randle went down and Precious took over as the starter, he's averaging 12.5 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks in 16 games. So clearly it's a large enough sample size to understand that Precious Achiuwa, when given the right minutes, is a solid player for sure. But that doesn't mean that we want to switch his position. He's better off being a backup power forward or being someone with high potential that the Knicks try to flip, and then they don't need another first-round pick. Yeah, sure, I love the idea, in theory, of getting the 6th overall pick in the draft. But then if you look at what the 6th overall pick in the draft actually does for you, things change a little bit. I'm going to be honest here, and I think this is weirdly a hot take to a lot of NBA fans, but it shouldn't be. Outside, for most of the time, of the 1st or 2nd pick, the draft is usually a complete coin flip. Usually, not always, but usually there's an obvious 1st overall pick of someone who it's almost certain they will become an all-star level player, whether that's Victor Wembanyama Obviously, the year before was a little bit more of a mystery with Paulo Banchero and Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith Jr. Jabari Smith, for the most part, was suspected to go number 1 overall. He's the worst out of those 3 guys right now. Obviously, Chet looks like he's great. Paulo's been great. But we didn't know what was going to happen. And then after that, it's not like that draft class did super well. 2021, there was Cade, but also after Cade, things got a little wonky because there's just so many misses in the draft. You're never going to look at a top 5 of an NBA draft in 5 years after that they get picked and be like, oh, wow, all 5 of those players worked out just fine. The last time that we saw the first 5 overall picks get put on an all-rookie first team was 2018 when DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley Jr., I'm trying to do this in order, Luka Doncic, kind of, Trae Young, and Jaren Jackson Jr. made the all-rookie first team. Marvin Bagley's struggling to stay in the NBA right now. DeAndre Ayton has qualified as a draft bust for the Phoenix Suns as he's now on the Portland Trailblazers, and he has not really improved, which is a problem for the Trailblazers, considering DeAndre Ayton was the most enticing part of the package they got back in the Damian Lillard debacle. So, that's not great for them. And then if you look at Luka, yeah, he's awesome. He turned out great. Luka is an NBA superstar. He's going to go on to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to win more than 1 MVP. He'll probably find his way into a championship or 3. But he was the 3rd overall pick. And the Hawks had the 3rd pick and traded it for Trae Young, who's pretty great too, but he's not Luka. That was a mistake. And Jaren Jackson's been good. He's a defensive player of the year. He's an all-star. None of these guys were the top 2 picks. And maybe that helps my argument that number 6 overall is going to be some world changer or not. Because most guys who get picked number 6 overall don't go on to be all-stars. Maybe they'll be a role player. Maybe the Knicks will end up drafting a role player and losing Mitchell Robinson. And yeah, you get some cap relief from it, except you don't. Because Marcus Smart makes more money than Mitchell Robinson. And something brought up here by the writer of this article is that if they're content with their options at center, they could move forward with this group and without the $27.3 million owed to Robinson for the next 2 seasons. That makes it sound like Mitch gets paid $27.3 million per year. He gets paid half of that. He's in total getting $27.3 million. Mind you, next season, Marcus Smart is going to be getting nearly $20 million on its own, and he is under contract till 2026 anyway. In return, they get Smart, a great head of the snake stopper, who could scratch the itch for additional playmaking, while the Knicks have a head of the snake stopper, in OG Anunoby already. The Knicks have enough playmaking as it is, and they're probably only going to get more through free agency, plus even more picks to move when their coveted star becomes available in the trade. The best argument for this trade, mind you. Smart, it's worth noting, hasn't played since dislocating a finger in early January, but his initial 6-week timetable, he should be nearing a return. Now, here's the thing. I understand there's a group of this fan base that wants to trade Mitchell Robinson because they believe that Isaiah Hartenstein could be the starting center on a championship team, and I'm not going to argue that. I think Isaiah Hartenstein certainly can be. I also think Mitchell Robinson can be. If the Knicks made that trade, there is a world where Hartenstein just walks anyway because the Knicks, though having his early bird rights, do not have the full bird rights, cannot pay him whatever Hartenstein will want, and there's a chance he could command more money than the Knicks can pay. Then the Knicks don't have a big man at all. They're running with Precious Achiuwa, who's more of a power forward at their center spot, and that is not a good look for the New York Knicks, as then they lose 2 elite rim protectors in the span of 6 months. And again, I understand the point, like, oh, top 3 protected pick. What if it becomes 4 overall? Most 4th overall picks don't turn out to be something magically great. I'm going to ask you guys something. And yeah, 1 or 2 of you might know it. Who was the 4th overall pick in 2016? I just picked a random year. I know who it is. And I'll be honest, I kind of did end up picking someone who's not the greatest player of all time. By not the greatest, I mean he's out of the NBA. And if you're trying to figure it out, I'll tell you right now. It's Dragan Bender. Remember him? No, you don't? Yeah, I hardly do either. It took me a second to figure out who it was. 4th overall pick in 2017? I don't know. I just don't know. It's not like these picks are that good in the NBA draft. We have to stop pretending like any top 10 pick is, oh, let's go! That's not the case, guys. So let's not pretend like it is. Let's not pretend that the NBA draft is great. yeah, the Knicks could take the pick, move it for some star, but what if that star becomes available, doesn't fit their need? Then the Knicks are just getting overlap and have a lack of a big man. Not all trades are made equally. I understand on paper why this could look like an enticing deal. But for any of you who see this and disagree, comment down below. I love to talk about this in the comments. We'll have some fun debates. We'll chop it up Knicks style. Let me know. Like this video. Subscribe to Knicks Digest. Turn on them post notifications. Thanks again for 5,000 subscribers. Means the world to me. Taj Gibson for president. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs, as Dario might say. Have a great day, guys, and go Knicks!